If ever there were a group of people who needed a secret support group, whose monthly meetings could be held in some kind of nice private Aspen ski chalet that's only accessible by helicopter, or perhaps on some luxurious island in the middle of the Caribbean that you can only access via speedboat, it would be exiled or former royals. They are a pretty pitiful bunch, aren't they? And they could probably do with a little bit of group sharing. I'm talking about Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York, who will put her name on anything from small appliances to tea bags to Mills and Boom books in the never-ending quest to make herself some money. And then what about Princess Märtha Louise of Norway? Well, she can't represent the royal house anymore after she got engaged to a self-styled shaman who charges $1,500 for private sessions and believes in something he calls spirit hacking. And then we've also got Prince Joachim of Denmark. He is the spare of his country, and he's been sent to Washington in a pretty clear bid to keep him and his own chuntering resentment at his second-last treatment far away from the heir and from his Australian wife. Are we missing somebody from this list? Oh yes, how could we forget? Our least favorite renegade royals, the moaners of Montecito, Harry and Meghan. So this week, there are some new photos that came out of the two of them, and looking at them, one thing became pretty clear. Like somebody who's just been dumped and can't stop listening to I Will Survive, Meghan and Harry obviously have not been able to move on. Even though Meghan and Harry have tried to convince us that their lives are so wonderful in the US, that they're just thriving, not only surviving, obviously it's not true. The tragic fact is, today their lives are not much more than an inferior substitute version of their lives in the royal family. So when are Meghan and Harry gonna finally stop play acting at still being important members of the firm? Let's just look at this week's outing when Meghan and Harry marked Mental Health Awareness Month by going to talk to some teenagers, and of course taking a photographer along with them to capture it all for their website. Well, this took place in Santa Barbara instead of somewhere in the UK, but this is basically a copy of a classic official palace engagement. In fact, only a day later, Catherine, the Princess of Wales, honored Mental Health Week by going to talk to some teenagers and taking along the press to capture it all. And before any Sussex sugars jump in and try to say that Catherine was just copying Meghan and Harry, that's wrong. In fact, her outing was planned months ago. See, royal outings require the same kind of preparation as battlefield maneuvers, considering the security and the logistical arrangements that are necessary. But the two outings, honestly, they're so similar it's pretty funny, and it only highlights the degree to which Harry and Meghan look like they really are trying to mimic working royal life. If we take a big step back and look at Meghan and Harry's new free life in the US, if we take away their potshot taking at the firm, take away their Netflix docuseries and the Spotify deals, what exactly is different about what they're doing now from what the royal family continues to do? Of course, last year, Meghan did her podcast series, and that gave us proof that even if you have a long list of celebrity guests, it's not enough to keep people listening. Both Catherine and Prince William have done podcasts too, a few times actually. Harry loves to talk about the environment, telling the UN last year our world is on fire. Well, right now, William is running probably the highest profile, deepest pocketed environmental initiative that exists. Meghan wrote a children's book, but so did King Charles, and actually his book is pretty sweet. So what kind of revolutionary stuff have Meghan and Harry actually done with their freedom and their new lives, other than turning royal baiting into California's newest micro-industry? Occasionally, they'll dip their toe into political waters, like throwing their weight behind US President Joe Biden's campaign, and Meghan made a few phone calls in support of paid parental leave. But now the two of them are essentially doing exactly what they were doing in the before times. I don't see them doing anything that's all that impressive. These days, they have every right to chart their own course, but instead, it seems like they're following the tried and true Buckingham Palace playbook. It's like they stole a copy on their way out the door and they're just checking things off one by one. To prove my point, speeches, check. Somber military outings, check. Doing some candid talking with the youth events that are cracking PR, again, a big check. Making themselves look glamorous for red carpet events, well, of course they didn't forget that. Visiting a baby charity, worrying about homeless people, supporting organizations that help people who don't have enough food to eat. Again, big checks all around. Not only for the Wales family, but also the Sussexes. So, what it looks like now is that Meghan and Harry's vision of their bold new lives is them essentially just copying and pasting some royal outings. The kind of do goodery the royal family is famous for being involved in. The only difference is Meghan and Harry are doing the stuff in California. So instead of being creative trailblazers, they're really pretty dull. Say what you will about the two, and I have done exactly that. But at one point, at least, they were pretty unpredictable and exciting. It did seem like at one point they had new ideas, that they were creative people. I mean, maybe they missed as many shots as those that hit the net, but still, at least they brought a certain amount of creativity and boldness in their approach. In September of 2019, we had one of the most powerful and probably best royal moments in years, if not decades. So Meghan was giving a speech standing on a tree stump at Nyanga Township in Cape Town, and she said, "While I am here with my husband as a member of the royal family, I want you to know that for me, I am here with you as a mother, as a wife, as a woman of color, and as your sister." And at the time, that speech was incredibly moving. That was something new. Now, when Meghan and Harry were actually on their game as working royals, it's not like they were simply mediocre. It's not like they were only good. In fact, they were pretty exceptional. So when the world learned about Megxit in 2020, it looked like they were going to take all that pep, all that energy, all that ingenuity, and do something interesting. In the words of Bob Sinclair, "World, hold on." We're still holding on, though, and so far nothing has happened. It seems like all that potential has disappeared, and right now they're trying to pretend to be senior working members of the royal family again. But this time it's against the backdrop of TMZ cameras and mortgage payments. No matter how we look at this situation, there's one thing that's very clear. In recent years, Harry and Meghan, but especially Harry, have lost a lot. Now, maybe the bright side in all of this, or at least one bright side, is that they can do whatever they want to. They're uninhibited. They don't have to worry about palace directives or rules. But I can't help but wonder, why haven't they done exactly that? There might be many reasons why, and it could be that they've tried to do that and just failed. Could it be that back then, all that ingenuity, all that pep, all that energy we saw coming from Meghan and Harry wasn't really theirs to claim? Maybe it was just all palace spin? I don't know. But I do know that if they want to be able to support themselves in the lifestyle they want to live in the US, they're going to have to figure out something. And you, what do you think about Harry and Meghan? Please tell me your views below in the comments. If you think my video is useful, please remember to like and share it with anyone else who would enjoy it anytime you want. And please subscribe.